getting back into shape and playing on the scout team. And then last week, not this week, but the week before that, when he played against Arizona, you were like, I wasn't surprised because he's been doing that in practice. And that's what a lot of these guys don't understand sometimes, is that that's where you can get better, you know, in this time of year for a young player. And he did. So was I surprised that he did what he did against the Steelers? Not after having seen what he did against Arizona. So maybe, yeah, I was a little surprised that, but I can't say that I was surprised because I've seen him do it on the field, and I've seen our players get excited about him. So I was happy to see it. But, you know, you never know in that environment, but he handled it really well, and it was big for us.
Since the Bengals made the change of defensive coordinator, just looking at film, any differences, or is it kind of looking like a Marvin Lewis defense like he called in Baltimore? Or?
Wow, you're going way back to talk about.
Well,
I mean,
let's go back.
Yeah, we do. We do. Coach Lewis and I go back. He's a good friend, and I think he's an outstanding football coach, and he does a great job. But you know, I think it's a lot of times when you make changes in season, especially when you've built up a basis from the OTAs and in training camp, you know, it's difficult to change too much. You can tweak some things. There's some things that they're doing a little bit differently, and they're playing hard. You know, that's the one thing that you see. So it'll be a challenge. They have some talented players.
OC, what does it mean, or how, having a quarterback like Phil, how much easier does it make your job, or just how much more seamless is the whole operation?
Well, I've been very fortunate to be around a couple of those guys in my time in the NFL, and you know, it's always great. We all know it's important that you have a quarterback in this league, and to have one of the best ones in the league with the way he's performing right now is fantastic. You know, I think you can do a lot of different things, and I think it helps from the standpoint of our players because they know they're all live. There's a chance they're going to get the ball. I think, you know, he's been able to play at a tremendous level since I've been with him, and he's one of the best, I know he's one of the best I've been around, and I think he's one of the best to play the game. So, yes, it's great to have a guy like that.
What do you attribute to the slower starts you guys have had the last few weeks?
Have we had slower starts? I mean, I thought Arizona was pretty good. I know that we started out the first thing, but then we scored like 6 straight drives. And Pittsburgh's pretty good, and it was a tough road the first half, but we got it going pretty good in the second half. You know, I think when you're I could speak more so, I think, from the Pittsburgh part of it. When you're playing a really good football team on the road in a crazy environment, sometimes it is difficult. And I think a lot of times you have to make some adjustments. You have to try to tweak some things until you get to what you think is working well. And we kind of got to that in the second half and played better. We didn't have a lot of plays in the first half, I don't think, but, you know, we missed some opportunities. The first drive we were pretty good. We went down the field and missed the field goal, but, you know, after that we weren't really good. So it's not easy to play on the road in that type of environment. So sometimes that's part of it, but, you know, we'll continue to work, and hopefully we can get to where we ended up in that game, which was playing pretty good.
Do you have an update on the coaching situation with Georgia Tech? Is that still a possibility?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, like I said last week, my focus really is about this team and what we're doing, and I'm trying not to let that be by any means creep into that. Todd and I we're teammates and played together, and we've talked, so, you know, that process is still ongoing.
Have you formally interviewed, though? Is that accurate?
Well, I mean, based on what I heard, I was in Atlanta Saturday and then back in Atlanta Monday. And so, you know, I've spoken with him. I don't, you know, what you consider formal or not formal. But like I said, you know, it's a tremendous honor to be considered for that position at a school that I played for and have very strong feelings for. And the process is still ongoing. But right now, my focus is on our team and where we're going, because it's really hard to get to the point that we're where we are right now. We were talking about that today, because sometimes you're in this position and you're hoping that you have a chance to get in. And if we do what we're capable of doing, then we can control that. So, you know, that's a big deal.
There was one report, I think 3 or 4 days ago, that said you've been offered the job and had 48 hours to decide. Is that, since that time has passed? Is that
It seems my cell phone goes in cycles. you know, with messages. So I wasn't even aware of that. So, you know, I can't speak to it because I didn't even know that was something. I know I get, when something like that comes out, boom, the messages come in. So it's interesting.
Speaking of focus, you have 2 games in a 4-day span. I know the focus is on Cincinnati, but do you get a sense the team is, or actually, forget that, as a coach, how much do you have to focus in on this game compared to trying to get ahead because you have to tight window?
Okay, well, you know, Ricky, what I think you're asking there is like really 2 different questions, okay? I would hope that we're not focused on Kansas City by any stretch of the imagination right now. Cincinnati is a good football team. If you put on some of their tape and you see some of the things that they've done earlier this year, you better be prepared for them. You know, they've got some good players. The fact that we play Kansas City on Thursday on a short week, from purely a coaching perspective, yes, you have to get on that a little bit because there's so much that you have to get done in a short period, but certainly not with the players. And I don't think that we are, I would hope not, from an offensive perspective, overlooking Cincinnati at all.
And then so from a perspective, regardless of the teams, when you have to play 2 games, regardless of who you're playing in a 4-day span, it's just natural that you have to, as a coach, prepare a little bit different.
It's hard. I mean, it is hard, but, you know, there's really, when you've done it, I mean, the way it is now, because everybody has to play a Thursday game after a Sunday game, and you've been doing it for a couple of years, I think you have a method of operating that you do. So you just know you've got to check this box, and this box. So when we get to the end of the week before the game, you know, there's a little bit of time in there where then you can, some of our coaches can turn their attention to doing some advanced work on Kansas City just so it helps. But, you know, different people have different ideas. Some people can do that and it doesn't affect their preparation, and others it does.
Sorry, Ken, you ever been in Atlanta recently?
Have I been in Atlanta recently? What do you mean by recently?
Saturday or
Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, I think, yeah, I just camped out. No, I haven't. I haven't been in Atlanta since past summer.
You said the situation is ongoing. Is there a time frame where you expect it to be resolved, or when you'd like it to be resolved?
Like I said, you know, I respect your question. I understand that you have a job to do, but once again, I don't want any of this to get involved with what we're trying to do as a football team. So, you know, it is a process, and I am grateful that I'm being considered for it. But, you know, right now, we got a game in a couple of days. I'm trying to get ready for that.
What's the benefit of having, your 4 top receivers are very different in size, skill sets, all kind of unique. How does that sort of work to your benefit in terms of scheming and game planning?
Well, you know, it really helps when they're all good. You know, it's really kind of not so much a function of what their size is, which I understand your question. It's a good question. I think what we've been able to do, and it all starts with the OTAs and in training camp, is try to find out what they do best and then put them in situations where they can do those things. And if you notice from watching us, and I think you know this about Keenan, he lines up everywhere. We're blessed that we have a guy that's not only talented, but that is smart enough to do that. And he kind of sets the standard for the whole group. So when you talk about what Tyrell's strength is, or what Mike's strength is, or what Travis's strength is, then we're trying to put them in spots where you can't really get a bead on them defensively saying, okay, he's here, this is what he's doing, but yet still to put them in a position where they're going to be successful. Like, we're not going to have Travis block a defensive end, you know, but if you watch our game the last couple of weeks, there have been times when Mike has done that. So, you know, you kind of just mix those things in, but the biggest thing you've got to do is try not to be predictable, because they're looking for those type of things. But it's tremendous from the standpoint of having these guys, because they can do different things. It allows us to do a lot of different things. And when you have a quarterback, to your earlier question, you know, that makes it even better.
How much of a challenge is that defensive line with Atkins, Dunlop, Johnson? I mean, it looks like the linebackers, there's some injuries, but the defensive line's still stout.
And you're exactly right. It is a tremendous challenge. Geno Atkins is one of the best interior linemen that plays, and he's very good. And the 2 outside guys, you know, they're good pass rushers, but they're big guys. They're long guys. So they, you know, with what they do, they're difficult in protection. You know, the Steelers had a good defensive front, and listen, that's what it is in this league. You have to face some guys. So you have to mix up your protections. You have to try to do some things to compensate for that. But, you know, it's difficult.
Think back to July, I mean, I'm sure offense is involved. Is this, right now, is this what you envision this being?
It's a good question. It's funny you asked that. We started looking at different things that we wanted to do back in probably February, March, and trying to integrate those things. And, you know, the period of OTAs and training camp is when you can do that. So we've evolved quite significantly since then. You know, some of the things we thought we would get to, but some of the other things have just kind of moved in that direction. It's been really awesome, you know, some of the different things that we've been doing, and trying to expand off of that. We've got a good group of coaches, you know, very, very consistent about trying to say, okay, this is what we did, now what can we build off of that? You know, all of this stuff with the motions and adjusting those kind of things with the receivers. I mean, to see what Keenan did the first play of the Seattle game where he runs for 26 yards, you know, or whatever it was, those are the kind of things when we're sitting back in early in the year and you say, hey, this is going to happen. No, you know, it happened because we've kind of evolved, and that's been really cool.
How much flexibility does that give you within a game to take advantage of certain opportunities, knowing, hey, we have these plays that could work against that?
I think to the earlier question, you know, that's what happened in Pittsburgh. Some of the things that we were doing in the first half weren't especially working great for us, and we evolved into something a little bit differently, something that, you know, Justin and Austin both had runs on in the second half that worked for us, and that's a big part of it. So I think, you know, when you have, it was in our plan. That part of it was in our plan. You prioritize when you go in what you think is going to be good. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, but you still have the other things that you can draw from. And, you know, I think that having had a history or having had some experience being able to do different things has really helped us. You know, if you look at us from game to game, we're a little bit different. You know, some of the things that we do aren't exactly what we did the week before. And I'm not trying to say that that creates problems for the defense, because then it sounds like we got them going. But what I'm trying to say is it's helped us. It's helped us because it's forced us to be more versatile, which can help.
How does Sam Tammy becoming the full-time right tackle either affect what you expect out of the offensive line or what you hope to do with them?
Well, Sam can do some things really well, and he just does some other things that he's going to consistently work on because he's a young lineman. So, you know, we've had a couple different guys play in those spots this year, and they've done a good job. So, you know, a lot of it is the expectation of that group and what they hold the other guys to. It's not so much about what Sam can do, it's more about what he's expected to do, and those guys holding him accountable. So, you know, it's been awesome to see Sam grow. From where he was last year, it was about this time last year that he started against the Jets in New York. And, you know, now he's played a number of games, and he's a legitimate tackle in this league and doing a good job. So it's been really good.
You've had some good balance. I mean, the stats are great. How excited or how proud are you so far of where you guys are, what you've done?
You know what? I'm not going to touch that one because I got asked about turnovers a couple weeks ago, and well, you guys remember what happened there, right? So, no disrespect to you. I think I will just ignore that question if I can.
Thanks, Wes.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Take a look at their running back, their running game, it jumps out at you. I mean, it's not hard for it to put on in front of our players, and they take notice. Very talented at the running back, obviously at the skill position with Boyd. So, you know, we got our work cut out for us this week with this group.
What game did you go to, by the way? Was it high school, Jim?
Yeah.
Which one?
Costa Mesa, yeah.
What has Joey done from when he first played the first game to where he is now? How much better has he gotten last couple of weeks?
I think you see every game that he plays, every series that he plays, you start seeing him come back to who he is. I think that, you know, especially after last week's game is a very physical game. You know, I think he can feel it from the game, the effects, and that tells you that he's not quite maybe, you know, in game tip-top shape where he's at, but he's getting closer. So we really like the progress he's making.
And the way he's played, how does that impact your defense and what you can do defensively?
I mean, we've changed some things because of his coming back, you know, as far as positioning guys and what he gives us, you know, especially versus the run and his pass rush. on third down rushes and things like that. He's come back. He's got, 3 sacks, I think, in 2 games. So, just that, the ability to get pressure on the quarterback with our 4-man rush.
Yes, how different is Cincinnati's offense now with Driscoll instead of Dalton?
It's a great question. I look back at them earlier in the season, their 4 games, and this team scored a lot of points. Against Atlanta, a lot of points. And they were rolling. Now, they've had some injuries, but you still see that ability to score points because of their skilled players and because of their backs. So you see a little bit of differences. You see that the way they attack the offenses, that philosophy is still there. You see how they want to go about doing it. But I think now with Driscoll, the ability with him to run, there's a few things that are maybe a little bit different than they did with Dalton. But their overall philosophy is still there.
So you expect more RPOs maybe?
With his ability, I think we're very aware of his ability to run the ball.
Coach, John Ross has won 15 16 catches. His ability to stretch the defense, how much strain does that put on you when you beat him?
Yeah, a lot of strain because of his speed. I mean, he has the ability to stretch the field vertically. So he's, every week you have guys like that have elite speed, but he might have the most elite speed, his ability to run. So he can take the top off a defense. So, again, it's just building awareness to where he's at on the field and his abilities.
Last week, I think Joey Bosa got a sack on Big Ben. Before that, kind of the passer was kind of struggling a little bit. Anything you can pinpoint to that?
Yeah, no, I would agree. I didn't think as far as the first half, we didn't get the type of pressure we were hoping. But in the second half, I think some things got cleaned up. Whether it's just the 4-man rush or some of the games, gifted a great job at halftime with those guys. And I think we really detailed the package and just kind of gave more clarity on what we were trying to do. And it fell into place a little bit better. So even though there's only 1 sack, we felt like we were getting closer to him and affecting him a little bit more.
What was the biggest adjustment in secondary? Because, they attacked you guys and found some openings there.
Yeah, they didn't start very good right away early. But I think the guys, it felt like right away, like we said at halftime, let's just do what we're supposed to do. Do the techniques, do what we show up in practice and we've done in previous weeks, and then let's see what happens. And I think guys kind of got back into that groove. There were some subtle things that we did, but nothing drastic. I think our guys just really, played better. I think the rush, started to get where they were more going to affect the quarterback a little bit more. Our coverage was a little bit tighter, and then we were making plays on third down.
Is it fair to say that you guys are maybe a little bit more physical in the back end in terms of how you handle the receivers on the perimeter?
I would say that's our objective every game is to try to be as physical as we can, especially at the line of scrimmage. But, no, I don't think it was anything like that. I think that guys just gotten more into a rhythm, as the flow of the game. And then, how momentum goes. You start getting momentum, these guys start making plays. I thought looking back at it, we had some missed assignments, but I felt like we really tackled well. I think earlier I talked about if you're in single-digit missed tackles, I think we had 5 in the game. So that, I think, is progressing week after week. I think we're becoming a better tackling team. And, I think that showed up.
What's the interference call on Michael Davis? He looked like he was actually in position to make a play. How tough is it for a young corner to learn when to look back for the ball and run the play?
Yeah, you're talking about the deep one that he got the penalty? Yeah, that was one of our busts. We didn't have the proper leverage on that play. And so he had to make up, and I think that's where you saw his speed. He had the catch-up speed, but then, the 50-50 ball, the ability to win that. And that's the challenge for him. That's what we want to see more from him is those 50-50 type balls, to go up and make plays on them. So, I think leverage to start would have been better for him. And then, you're right, the ability to, to get to where you're back in lead position and the ability to look back and make the play. He just felt like he was still in a trail position.
How did AP's role evolve as a Mike linebacker in dime? And then I think you guys are in dime more than any other defense. Why has that been so effective for you?
Well, first of all, he's extremely intelligent. So he could play strong safety, free safety, dime, and nickel for us. And we'd feel extremely comfortable if he was in there in any of those positions. So that intelligence, he's got a football IQ that is to say compare him to anybody, he's just one of the most elite guys in that area that I've ever been around. So that helps him. Now, his athleticism and his ability to make plays, the challenge for him was being in the box and getting off blocks and making plays. You know, because you're a safety, you're not doing that much. You might be doing on the perimeter. But he's been impressive inside there. You know, he's really taken ownership of it. And how it happened was just basically because of injuries. You know, our hands were tied a little bit and said, all right, you know, where do we go from here? And, you know, after talking with the, Coach Milas and everybody, we thought, you know, he would be the next man that we felt like could handle that and all the things we asked him to do. And we're very grateful for him, very grateful.
Something that was initially a weakness because you needed a guy in there, and it's become a strength in terms of what you guys do.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say in our minds, if you ask us as coaches, that is a strength right now, you know, his ability to play that. And some of the things, because it gives us flexibility. You know, usually have a linebacker and there's only so many things you can do with them. You know, you saw him, he was in the box, but at other times he was playing half-field coverage. So that type of athlete gives us some flexibility.
Evaluate Damian Square's transition back inside.
Very similar. It's funny that you talk about him right after AP, because in our mind, those two guys are very similar. Damian Square plays nose, 3 technique, 4B, and he's another guy that his football IQ and intelligence, we can play him at multiple positions, and it's not just play, he excels at it. So he's been playing very well for us, and those are 2 key guys in our defense. Those 2 guys, you know, we've had some injuries, but those 2 guys, I think, have given us the flexibility to where we can maneuver some things and still keep going.
You mentioned AP as one of the most elite football IQs you've ever seen. At what point did you realize it was that special?
Well, I think they told me about him when I first got here, but now being around him and just seeing him, I think it's something that you appreciate once you see him involved in games and some of the things he does. Because it's not only for him. I mean, he's helping guys on the, you know, next to him. I think, you know, Jatavis has played very well for us, and I think a lot of that credit goes to AP. You know, I think just that presence with him on the field, and they're constantly challenging one another and talking through some things. So, and they're similar in body types, you know.
Derwin seemed to be everywhere on Sunday. Was that the best he's graded out in a game, or?
He played pretty well. Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that we want to make sure he's around the ball. And, you know, every week it changes where we position him. And, I mean, that's the goal with everybody on our defense is try to put them in position where they can impact the game. So he's been a playmaker all year. It's been pretty consistent for us. So his skill set is unique. It's very unique. And, you know, it's our job to try to position him to where we can utilize that skill set.
Where's call AP a linebacker now? What do you even call him?
Yeah, we call him a dime. He can double up on many positions. So, you know, when Desmond went down, you know, when he was on the field, I mean, we kind of hesitated. Okay, we would have to move some guys around if we lost him. And so, you know, again, we would probably look to him in that situation where he might have had to move out to nickel or, you know, or Trevor. So, you know, I think it's just for a coach, it just gives you more of a peace of mind when he's out there because again, he can play so many different positions.
He's still warming up with the DBs.
What's that?
He's still warming up with
Oh,
the
yeah,
DBs.
he's not going to give up that part. Richard Smith would like him in his room, but I don't think that's going to happen.
You and me, Ben, go back a lot of years. Just, how good is it to have him back and just everything he's been dealing with this season?
You know what? He is one of the strongest leaders in that locker room for our defense. His presence on the field, his presence in that locker room, he brings a sense of calm and wisdom to guys. He's not going to get up in front of the group and give this passionate, long speech, but if there's issue, he's the one that a lot of them go to. He has been such a great impact on our room. And then to see what he's going through and his family going through, I mean, your heart goes out for him. And just the relationship that I have with him, been with him in Seattle and here, you hurt for him. But I think the greatest thing about him is he has had all this on his plate with his family and what his family's going through, and then to be able to perform at a high level on the field and deal with that. It's not surprising because I know him and his professionalism and his ability to handle those things, but you know, he's playing at such a high level, but his priority is his family, as it should be.
Coach, you touched on briefly on Joe Mixon earlier, but just look ahead real quick. What is it about him that sticks out?
You know what? you hate to compare. You see some, his ability to accelerate through a hole is something that jumps out at you. He can jump cut. And that part, it kind of reminded me of a Fred Taylor, the ability to start in the A gap and get to the edge like that. We looked at, and he's no doubt one of the top running backs we face. That's not even a question. So, and his average per attempt and things like that are high. So he's strong. He's physical. He can make you miss, the jump cut, the acceleration. So if you just pull up their explosive plays and look at the explosive runs that he's had, and we look at running style each day, 5 or 6 clips of running style. Well, it's not hard to find those in this week because of him.
And then Bernard, just with what he can do, screens. And
Completely different style, but very effective. Another guy that can go and accelerate. Yes, his size, they're a little bit different there, but as a third down back, and then they'll change it up with him. So our defense has to be aware of which back is in the game because of the different styles. Okay, thank you.